All right, hello, hello. Today we will be painting this gorgeous picture of an Aboriginal man, I'm assuming from Australia. And but just what a gorgeous picture to paint. I mean, look at his face, his facial structure, the colors. It's going to be a lot of fun to paint this one. So I hope you'll stay with me as we paint this portrait. And you should learn a lot of things along the way. So let's get started. So first of all, this gorgeous reference photo is from Bixabay on pexels.com. There you'll find a lot of copyright-free pictures to use in your painting. And of course, I am a big believer in the iPad Procreate app, so that's what we're using today. This is an app that allows you to do things in layers, which I love. So right now I'm starting to sketch the face. I was using the reference photo, and so I'm one that loves to use a lot of lines. Some people don't sketch as much. I tend to sketch a lot, so that's personal preference. You could just do a quick outline and paint from there, but I do like to use a lot of guidelines and bleed lines and a lot of lines to help me along the process. So here I'm picking my favorite brush, turpentine. That's probably one of my favorite paint brushes I use. It kind of makes it look a little more realistic, that it's not so digital, if you will. Here I'm painting some background. Okay, and simply here I'm erasing, literally. I'm using the eraser tool to erase some of the color in the portrait's face. Now there are masks that you can use. I'm pretty low tech when it comes to my iPad, so I just like to erase if I can. And then I do use masks every once in a while, but for like a straight on painting, to make it look more painterly, if you will, I don't use as many masks and things of that nature. I just like to paint. So something really important here. If you were just to look at the photograph, you would think, oh, look he has a white face. He actually doesn't. The great thing about the iPad is you can use a tool to, there, I just grabbed some color right there. You can grab color from your photo using the color pick tool. So I use that. I just did it again. I'm trying to get his nose color right. And that's such a handy tool, because then you'll see that not everything that, quote, appears white is white at all. As a matter of fact, most things are not white. They're either blue or gray. I've had tinges of green in things that I thought were white. So it's a really useful tool to use. And you get a lot of learning as well, because you'll learn that not everything is as it appears on a photograph. It might look white compared to the background or compared to what's lying next to it, but 9 times out of 10, you're usually not painting with, quote, white. Wrinkles are always important. It gives depth to the face, obviously. So here I'm just starting to do some more wrinkles. Hey, and if you're interested in wrinkles, I have a whole tutorial on wrinkles. Just go to my channel and check it out. but just look how handy using that reference photo is. Isn't that awesome? That's the other great thing about using your iPad or Procreate app is I can look at what I'm painting directly, like within a matter of an inch or so, which is so nice, especially if you're trying to get some realism in. It's so nice just to be able to look at that. Your eye fixates on the reference photo, then back, then reference, then back, then reference, then back. Your eye should be doing that every time you paint. Normally, even if you're using a landscape, even if you're plein air painting, your eyes are always darting from the reference to your painting, reference, painting, reference, painting, and you should constantly be doing that. And with the iPad, it makes it so much easier because you're not darting across a whole a whole huge canvas to your reference painting. So it's really nice. Just another one of those wonderful advantages of using the Procreate app. And here we're coming up on my wrinkle video that I mentioned before. Please check that out if you'd like to learn more about the wrinkles, creating wrinkles. Also, each layer I like to keep separate. You'll notice I'll start labeling the layers so I don't get confused, because I do get confused when I have so many layers. But I really do like to use different layers when I'm using the iPad Procreate app. It allows you to paint without disturbing the underlayers, so to speak. So that's another advantage of digital painting. You can't always do that, obviously, if you're painting with acrylics or oils. Well, oils more so than acrylics, but I mean, you can manipulate oils a little easier than acrylics. But with the iPad, it's so nice because you can paint on a different layer at a time, and you won't ruin what you've already done. It's really nice. Again, another advantage of using your iPad Procreate app. You'll notice I also like to get rid of my guidelines after I start painting. So I'll either blend them with the blending tool, or I totally get rid of them. But it just depends on the look I'm trying to get and basically my eye for that day. If I want to blend in the line, I'll do that, or if I just want to erase the line, I'll do that. So it depends on the actual project I'm working on. Still working on wrinkles and little details. Lots of wrinkles. But that actually does help make the painting look more realistic, if you're looking for a realism. Okay, the smudge tool is one of my favorites. As you can see it being used right here. Notice how often I pull away from the picture and I push it forward away from myself. You should be doing that also as a painter on an easel, constantly stepping back from your work. Don't get too uptight into looking at your painting really closely, because you always want to step back and take a look at it, at your work. That's the only way to tell what you're doing is successful or not. If you're constantly in a detail, it's really hard to see the big picture. So constantly push back away from your art here and there to get a better view of how it's coming. On Procreate, you can also manipulate your layers. There, I just moved a layer on top of one, or there, I just did it again. You can move them around if you're not, if you don't want to disturb the layer underneath, or if you want to be able to paint over top of another layer. It's so easy on the Procreate app to do that. So that's another plus about using the iPad. Okay, there I'm choosing to get rid of my lines by erasing them, not just smudging them. So I do it both ways. And here I'm talking about the best tool on Procreate. It is one of the best tools, the color picker. So it's a great way to get your exact color that you need for your painting. Awesome tool. Yes, it's a great way to cheat. Especially when you're learning how to paint. It's so helpful. Again, that white is not white all the time. Okay, now I'm going to start doing the eyes. Now there, I just used the color picker tool to grab the color that's in the white of the eye, quote. So you can see it's actually not white. Great tool. When I work in the eyes too, I usually go away from my turpentine brush, and I'm usually using like a studio pen or one of the inking pens I use. That's a little smoother to use. And here I'm using the smudge tool, which again I love. So I'm always using that smudge tool right up there in the corner there. many colors you use to do an eye. People just think, oh, it's the white of the eye and then the iris. No, there's a lot of color in the eye. Here I'm smudging some of those lines I drew on the original sketch. So some of the sketch lines are now disappearing. Oh, there we go. Look how many colors it takes to create an eye. Getting rid of some of those sketch lines again. Okay, let's start the second eye. Here again, we're seeing that the whites of the eyes aren't usually ever white. Actually, unless it's a cartoon, I don't think they're ever white. So here, this eye has a lot of color in it. Good old smudge tool again. Don't forget about the white little shiny part. There's always a little shiny part of the around the iris or the pupil. Boy, but already, don't those eyes make a huge difference? And I'll bet you if you go back and look at some of your old paintings where you might have used white for the whites of the eyes, you'll see a big difference if you follow my lead here and use some of the other colors for your whites. It really does make an impression, I think. The eyes look so much more realistic. I'm going to start doing the beard and the mustache. Another fun part on this portrait. His hair and his facial hair, I mean, the coloring, the paint on his face, just everything. It's just such a fun portrait to do. And as a painter, I'm always looking for the darkest darks and the lightest lights. So right now, I'm focusing on the darkest darks in the mustache beard area. You should do that when you're painting on a canvas as well. Look for your darkest darks, and I like to use those right away so I know where I'm going with the rest of the painting.
Water's rising. The dam is breaking in. It was bound to happen, 'cause your heart is caving in. So why you bother? This is nothing you can run from. I hope you make it, 'cause I can't change it anyway. For soon it's all over, and you've been running again. Before you know it, it's all over. So enjoy your heartbreak.
Here again, getting rid of the sketch lines with my eraser tool.
The promises we're making, the rules we keep breaking.
Now the smudge tool.
We try so hard to stop it. I hope we make it.
So this side of his face I noticed was darker in the reference photo than the other side. So I'm just adding some darker colors over on the left.
Before you know it, it's all over.
And again, that ability to see that, the difference is from me stepping back from the painting. You'll see it getting small, getting big, getting small, getting big. And that's for me to be able to step away and notice the whole painting at once, so I can see those areas that I missed in the beginning, the darker areas on the left there. Again, that comes from, stepping away, going forward, coming back, going forward, coming back.
For soon it's all over, and you've been running again. Before you know it, it's all over. So enjoy your heartbreak, enjoy your heartbreak, my friend.
Okay, here I'm starting the hair. Really fun to do. But again, you'll see different colors in there that you don't normally associate with hair. But that's okay, because that gives it the realism you need. And again, the more colors you can incorporate into an item, the more depth it gives the subject, in this case the hair. So the more colors you can incorporate, the more realistic it will appear. In other words, don't be in a hurry to paint the hair. Make sure that you give a whole lot of thought, or at least you add a ton of different colors to make it more visually appealing as well. But that does definitely give your painting depth. Adding some fine detail now to the hair, which is always important as well. And on your face, don't forget the shadows that the hair creates on the face. You'll notice some of the shadow up there. I was just doing some of the shadows. So that's important too. Again, to give it a three-dimensional look. Moving on a little to the beard as well, the facial hair. And here you'll see that I'm starting to add some of the shadowing on the dreadlocks so that they appear rounded in nature. Adding some highlights to the hair, also important. So the low lights and the highlights are important. Doing some facial hair again, and hair is really fun to paint. That sounds awful, but it is. It's really fun to get the nuances of the color and the texture, and the haphazardness of it all. It's an enjoyable process. So if you need to do some stress relief, color a beard. Here I'm about to do some background color, some overall mid-tone color for the back of the beard. Right there. Coming back in with some highlights and lowlights. Notice a lot of blue in the beard. Who would have thought, right? But look at how realistic it makes it look. So again, don't go by what you have perceived in the past about what hair color is. Literally look at your reference photo, really study the colors, and actually go by what you see, not by what you should be perceiving, if that makes sense. So literally what the eye sees. Try to mask out what your mind is telling you color is or hair color is, and go with what you actually see. Train your brain to see color. Okay, take time for the little details in the beard, the squiggly lines and the messiness of the beard. That's so important to make it look realistic as well. And we're coming up on the finished product. Ta-da! Pat yourself on the back if you've colored along or painted along with me. And thanks for joining us. And if you like what you see, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Have a great day.